Hi there, I'm Mystic Shar, or some people know me as Charlie. I've been asked by quite a few people to share my story as to how did I become a psychic medium. So I had to dig a little bit deep and make the decision to try and come on here and open up to all of you. And that's very difficult for me. I am used to having people open up to me, but I'm not so comfortable always opening up for other people. So this is a little bit of a challenge for me. So here goes. When I was 16 years old, I think I met Satan. And I think that started me on my journey. When I was growing up at home, it was not a great household experience. And I'm sure some of you have also experienced that. I was in an abusive household. My father was an alcoholic. He was my stepfather. He was an alcoholic. Actually, my real father was too. But anyways, and he was abusive. And yes, I was hit and made to feel very small, and which created a lot of issues for me going through my life. So there was lots of trauma there, and lack of love, and but it is what it is, and I am at a point now where I understand that he was just a product of his environment as well. So it goes on, and you kind of learn that over time, once you start looking at yourself and all the things that we do that's imperfect ourselves. So anyway, at 16, I decided, how do I deal with this? I can't out hit him. I can't out smart him. The only thing that I knew how to do was to run. And with running when you're 16 years old, you're not sure how to do that because you have no money, you have no education, that sort of thing. So, but I did it anyway. I finally found my courage and I ran. And I ran to a little town in Ontario called Newmarket, Ontario. And Newmarket was, it seemed like a big city to me because I was from Beaton, which was a really little town. So I rented an apartment from this wonderful landlord. Her name was Joan. And she rented out the attic to me. And so you go up this staircase and you go into this it was like a fairly big room, and it was all wood lined walls, had a little closet and a couple of little closets actually. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's just perfect. I'd love it. So I took it in on moving day. My mom helped me move in. I had a pretty good relationship with her, which was nice. And I had a little radio going on the side there, and I remember at the time Stairway to Heaven was really big, and I loved the song. So the song was playing away, and all of a sudden it stopped. And so I hollered down to my mom and I said, Mom, why are you turning off that song? Like, put it back on, please. She says, I'm not. And she called down from down the stairs. So I knew for a fact that she had not turned the radio off. Now, the radio had never done that before, nor after. So I thought that was a little strange. Then I had met my real father around that time, and he had given me a poster. And this poster was, about this big. And it had an old apple lady on it. And she was all like, if you took an apple and you let it rot and it would be all wrinkly. So I called her the old apple lady. Well, I was sitting underneath there and I was taking a break one day, that day, and it fell on my head. And I thought, well, that's strange, because I thought I hung it up properly. Put it back up, and it did it again. Well, it did it about 3 or 4 times. And then I finally went, okay, you know what? Something's up here. Then there was a closet. And this closet, it was an old wooden door. And you had to pull the closet to shut the door because it was like swollen and it was up against the floor. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden the door just gently closed. Boom. And I thought, well, that's weird, because I can't even get that closet door to close. So I start, tweaking in a little bit here and there, but still nothing, because at this time I really knew nothing about spirituality, about God, about demons, about anything. So I end up getting a boyfriend. And it was a pretty simple, new, young relationship. And one day I was lying in my bed and I had a nightmare. And this nightmare was so strong. And I don't even think to this day I've had a stronger nightmare. Anyways, the Grim Reaper was standing at the end of my bed and he had this sickle. And I knew he was coming for me. And I was like, I woke up. I woke up to the sound of a paper bag. And it was like somebody crunched this paper bag right in my ears to wake me up. And I jumped out of bed and I was like, what the heck was that? So the next day I called my boyfriend. He's at home. And he says, you'll never guess what happened. I said, what? He says, I had a dream of you in your bed and the Grim Reaper was standing at the end of your bed and you woke up to the sound of a paper bag crunching in my ear. And I thought, that's really weird. Like I didn't have any understanding of that. So, anyways, we're sitting there another time and all of a sudden I see this big white ball of fog floating across the room. And I was like, did I see that? And then another one came and floated across the room. And so I turned to him and I said, hey, did you just see that? And he says, I did. I saw that. I said, what did you see? He says, I saw this big ball of fog. Well, that's what we called it, was a ball of fog, because we really didn't know anything about orbs at the time. So anyways, it, kept floating across and we thought, well, maybe it's car headlights, maybe, so we investigated and nothing. Then I went to bed one night and I laid down in my bed and within a minute, all of a sudden my body started to float up and I just float up to the sky, just going like that. And it was the most beautiful thing. It was peaceful. It was loving. It was like nothing else I had ever experienced before. It just felt normal. It felt right. And here I was going and it was okay. And then all of a sudden it was like somebody had put a thought into my head and it said, you're dying. And I thought, I don't want to die. And as soon as I made that decision, boom, I was right back in my body. And that's when I learned that, you have a lot of power over what happens to you. So it's your thoughts that make the difference, because it was almost like Satan was coming for me and he was making it clear that he was coming for me, that his presence was there. And but all I had to do was remember what I was choosing. So I ended up getting up, running down the stairs, running onto the street. And I remember I had baby dolls on and it was the middle of winter. And I was running down the street and thank goodness for my landlord. She came running after me and said, hey, come on back in the house. And I said, I don't want to go back in the house. Like I knew that there was something there. I don't know if it was a porthole, but something dark was happening. So I stayed on the couch downstairs until I found a place to live and I moved out. And that was my first real experience with what I believe to be Satan. And but I know that there's the whole opposite side to Satan now. So, we can explore that too. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. If you're struggling with anything like that, reach out to me and hopefully I can give you a hand. And if you can hit the like and subscribe button so that we can reach more people, to help more people, I'd appreciate your help. And I'm here if you have any questions. So thanks so much, and looking forward to sharing more stories with you. I will be opening up some more for some interesting little fun stories. Okay, take care. Have a great day.